Susie Goodwin here. If you're podcast coaching with me, I'm going to recommend Anchor every single time as your host, and here's why. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And then Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You guys, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it quite literally has everything you need to become a podcaster right in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. This is the only episode where I'm going to say, hey, you need to have listened to the others first. Everything else can be done standalone, but within this album 3, Personal Branding, I want you to listen to the other episodes first. You guys, this one is good. Brooke is going to tie it all together and also offer some ways we can consistently be recognizable online and give us specific tips, whether we are a beginner or someone who is tenured and reworking our personal brand. Welcome to Serve Then Sell with guest host Brooke Norland of Wear It Boldly. This is the 3rd album of the show, and you guys, it's all about personal branding. My co-host Brooke has a decade in direct selling with multiple brands and found her happy place in teaching others about personal branding. She currently represents the brand Line Life, but has flexed her own leadership muscle in this industry by teaching men and women outside her brand how to find their voice and create a personal brand. And that is what we're going to do here too. We consider this album on branding a starting point and required listening for anyone joining, relaunching, or training others in direct sales. Does not matter what brand you're with. So without further ado, here is Brooke Norland and myself, Susie Goodwin, in Serve Then Sell Personal Branding. All right, welcome to the Serve Then Sell podcast. Brooke Norland of Wear It Boldly. We are talking about personal branding today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here, Susie. Thank you.
Now, this is the final episode in an album that we are encouraging people to listen to all the way. To this point, you could do these episodes standalone, real talk. But listener, I want to encourage you, before you listen to this one, this is the exception. I'd love you to go back in the queue. You'll see it'll say season 3. That's what we mean when we say album. And we want you to listen to why you should be yourself, finding your voice, serving versus selling, your ideal client. We want you to listen to that stuff before we get into this episode about personal branding, because it's going to get a little tactical for you. Let's start off with, why do people want to think about their personal brand first? Why not just go out of the gates with the company brand?
Sure. Personal branding is the foundation to a great selling strategy. When you know who you are, what your message is, and how to amplify your voice using your products, you have everything you need to build on top of that. Everyone wants to start with a visual brand first, but I always recommend that you fill up your present first. That's how I like to explain it to my branding class with my teammates. You are a gift, which means your brand is a gift. What's inside your gift box is what matters the most. Your personality, your vibe, your value. That's what people want to find when they open up your gift. Because listen, if you wrap up the most gorgeous gift with all of the pretty colors, ribbons, bows, and glitter, etc., and then when they open it, it's empty, well, that's kind of disappointing, isn't it? Fill up the inside and then reward yourself by wrapping it up in beautiful colors, fonts, a logo that matches the gift that's inside.
This is a really great metaphor for us and our personal brands.
Yes, and it's a great metaphor for life too. You as a person are a gift, and that's what you're sharing with people when you create a brand.
Talk to us also about some ways that we can make that gift consistently recognizable.
Okay, so this is actually the really fun part, right? Choosing colors, fonts, and overall vibe that can visually capture an audience. Because that's what you're doing. You're taking your brand and you're creating a visual experience that people can recognize even if they haven't gotten to know you and your brand experience yet. Here's the process I recommend to my branding class attendees. Visit Pinterest and start a board just for your brand. Throw everything in there that visually appeals to you. I don't care if it's a stove. If you think it's beautiful, just throw it in there. Work on this for a few days, and afterwards, step back and look at what you found. You're going to start to see a visual theme that you love. And then don't overdo picking colors. 1 to 3 colors max with 1 to 2 accents that are used on occasion is definitely enough. I've seen some branding boards with like 10 plus colors, and it is overwhelming. Choose colors that speak to you and will catch the eye of your consumer. And last are fonts. And honestly, that's one of the things that seem to frustrate people the most because there are so many fonts and that rabbit hole is deep. I suggest playing with them. Make a bunch of quote graphics to try out the fonts. And if you choose something really scripty, always make sure to have a nice, easy to read font to go alongside of it. Same with colors. Don't complicate it. 1 to 2 fonts is really all you need. The point of it all is when someone sees you and your brand online, they'll recognize you even when they're mindlessly scrolling. Like, oh, hey, there's Susie. I love her. And boom, you're on the brain, which is really the goal.
Oh, I love this so much. And I really like how you're encouraging us to keep it simple. I think that Pinterest board exercise might be like the most fun thing somebody's going to do in the first month with their new company.
Oh, absolutely. Who doesn't love to go out on Pinterest and play for a while? And you're like, you can deduct that time, right? It's tax deductible then, right?
Yeah, girl. Hey, so tell us, for example, how you went through this process.
It's honestly kind of embarrassing to admit how many visual rebrands Wear It Boldly has gone through. But you have to remember that my journey with branding is what created the knowledge I have to share today. There's that big lesson of not allowing your attempts to be failures, but rather lessons, because you never know what life is teaching you. So for people who've been following me for a long time, they'll remember my very first branding because it was memorable. Bo the O, which was literally just the O in the word boldly, she came to life with a pair of cat eye sunglasses. I had her on stickers, images, my logo everywhere. It was so simple to create and to work with, but it made a big impact visually. That little O is where my love for branding started. When I saw the impact something so simple could have on building my recognition, I knew I had to explore that further. From there is where I learned that people often think of a brand as just what you visually see. But the truth is, it's what's inside, the experience of following and supporting a brand. That's honestly what keeps people coming back.
So I want to get a picture of Bo the O for the show notes in this. I remember her. And just for people listening, it was the O in boldly, but you had like made her a woman with cat eye glasses.
Yeah, she was just her own personality. She was Wear It Boldly, really.
Oh, I love it. Keep going.
I saw countless people create beautiful graphics that caught my eye, but when I started spending time in their social spaces, I was left feeling a bit underwhelmed. Oh, so pretty, but it didn't keep my attention for long because there wasn't enough substance. That's when I started my own journey to create the inside of my brand. I knew that I could become visually recognizable, but I wanted people to remember shopping with me. I wanted them to look forward to my posts every day. I wanted them to come back to support me because they enjoyed their experience and they felt a connection. And that's where the magic lies.
Okay, so what would your advice be for someone who is beginning this personal branding journey?
It doesn't matter if you're just starting out with a brand or reevaluating your current brand. Just don't rush it. Take your time to get to know yourself and what parts of you that you want to share with your community. But remember, overthinking is a disease. Your brand can evolve. Don't get caught up in the weeds and stop yourself from going into action.
Overthinking is a disease. I'm going to say it again because I'm guilty of it. And I know, as we're talking about fonts and colors and what do you want your brand to be from the inside out, we realize we might be inviting people to do just that.
Exactly. Just feel it. It's important to feel it, I think.
All right. So, do you have a challenge for folks out there? Let's talk about how to make this tactical.
I want to challenge you today to either take a look at your direct sales and small business or use these questions while you're branding for the first time. Do you feel you're serving people? Do you have an ideal client? Do you feel like shopping with you is a memorable experience? Do you have repeat customers and new ones each month? Do you feel passion for what you're doing? Do you have consistent visual recognition? If you answered no to any of these questions, this is where you need to start.
So personal branding is where we need to start in nailing down that consistent experience that makes people want more.
Exactly. And that's where you're going to start to find it so much easier to serve people when you have a personal brand that you're sharing with the world.
I love this so much. And you had said in an earlier episode in this album that that personal brand just becomes the delivery vehicle for whatever company's product that you represent.
Exactly. You want to make sure that your voice is what's heard and the products are there amplified by your voice. All right, Susie. So how are we going to wrap this up?
All right, Brooke. So we are going to let people share their personal brands with us. We want to see the gift that you have, guys, and we want you to use the following hashtag. Can I get a drum roll, please? Serve boldly. Serve boldly. So hashtag serve boldly, you guys. Use this hashtag on social media. Here's what's going to happen. Brooke and I are going to share your brand, so you're going to get some additional exposure, but then also we are going to give you a mini branding worksheet, and that is directly from Brooke. You know that she teaches this. It's fantastic. So that's a win for you, and it's a win for your personal brand.
I am so excited to see all of the beautiful branding in hashtag serve boldly.
That's the best hashtag you're going to use because we are going to, again, help get you more exposure. Also, it's going to be really great because this podcast is about finding our people, finding people who are serving, then selling, who want to do things from a relationship place. It's going to help you find your people, guys. So hashtag serve boldly. Thank you so much for coming on to talk to us about personal branding, as well as for being the co-host in this entire album. Brooke, from Wear It Boldly, where can folks find you?
Thank you, Susie, for having me. This has absolutely been a pleasure. And yes, please come and find me on Instagram. You can search for Wear It Boldly, and I would be happy to connect with any.
Thank you for listening to Serve Then Sell with guest host Brooke Norland of Lime Life and Team Wear It Boldly. Our goal for you in this album is to help you find your voice and create a personal brand. We would love to hear your thoughts as you listen through the album. Use the hashtag ServeBoldly. That's ServeBoldly. Serve boldly, and share your thoughts with us. You guys, show us your personal brand. When you do, two things are going to happen. Number one, we're going to share on our social media accounts, which have a combined reach of 15,000. And you're going to get a free mini branding workbook from Brooke so you can continue to develop in the topic of personal branding. You guys, you can find Brooke at Wear It Boldly on Instagram. You can also find me over on Instagram at Serve Then Sell or Run Lift Mom Pod. Again, we want you to use hashtag Serve Boldly as you listen through these episodes about personal branding. Show off that brand, ask your questions, enjoy the community, serve then sell.